Behind closed doors, a firm message is being sent from the Pentagon to one of its oldest and closest allies. A multi-billion-dollar decision is on the table that could redefine the security of an entire continent. And a shocking rift is forming between the United States and Canada over a single piece of military hardware: the fighter jet. For decades, the defense of North America has been a story of seamless partnership, built on shared tech, shared intelligence, and shared threats. But now, that very foundation is being tested. As Ottawa takes a second look at its commitment to America's F-35 stealth fighter, a bold and disruptive offer from Sweden's Saab has thrown the whole equation into chaos. Washington has signaled concerns about serious consequences, suggesting a move away from the F-35 could jeopardize the fabric of their joint defense. But Canada is pushing back, defending its sovereign right to choose a different path, one that promises industrial independence, cost control, and a new vision for its role in the world. At the heart of this firestorm are two profoundly different aircraft, representing two profoundly different philosophies. This isn't just a debate over which plane to buy. It's a high-stakes strategic showdown. This is the story of how Canada's potential purchase of the Gripen fighter jet is sending shockwaves from Washington to Ottawa, forcing a question that could change everything. How much is true independence worth? A multi-billion-dollar deal for fighter jets is driving a wedge between two of the world's closest allies. The U.S. has voiced stark concerns to Canada, but Ottawa is pushing back, defending a choice that could reshape the defense of North America. At the heart of it all is one aircraft that threatens to upend decades of U.S. defense dominance. This is how Canada's potential pivot to the Gripen fighter jet is causing a major stir in both Washington and Ottawa. So how did we get here? For over a decade, replacing Canada's aging fleet of CF-18 Hornets has been one of the most politically charged sagas in the nation's military history. After years of debate and reversals, the Canadian government finally selected the American-made Lockheed Martin F-35A in 2022. The plan was ambitious: 88 advanced stealth fighters, the biggest investment in the Royal Canadian Air Force in over 30 years. On the surface, it seemed logical. The F-35 is billed as the pinnacle of air combat, a fifth-generation networked stealth platform for the most dangerous skies on Earth. For a country like Canada, a founder of both NATO and NORAD, buying the same jet as its main ally, the U.S., seemed like a no-brainer. The F-35 wasn't just a plane, it was a ticket to a continued seamless partnership. But almost immediately the cracks began to show. The first, most glaring issue was the staggering cost. The initial sticker price for the 88 jets was estimated at over 27 billion Canadian dollars. When you factor in infrastructure, weapons, and the astronomical long-term costs of maintenance, analysts warned the true lifetime cost could balloon as high as $33 billion. That isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a figure that would lock up a huge chunk of Canada's defense budget for decades, crowding out other priorities. The F-35, for all its power, is notoriously expensive to fly. Some estimates put the cost per flight hour at a staggering $44,000. In an era of tight budgets, committing to such a costly platform started making people nervous, not just the public, but officials in government too. Beyond the price tag, a deeper worry started to bubble up: the question of control. The F-35 isn't something a country just buys off the shelf. It's a deeply integrated global ecosystem, and its brain, its software, mission data, and upgrades, is firmly controlled by the United States. Buyers don't get the source code. They can't independently modify the jet's core systems. You're basically a lifetime subscriber to a service run by the Pentagon and Lockheed Martin. This raised uncomfortable questions about Canadian sovereignty. What happens if Canada's foreign policy goals differ from Washington's? What if a future U.S. administration uses this technological leverage as a political tool? The idea of handing over the keys to the country's top fighter fleet to a foreign power, even a close ally, started to feel less like a partnership and more like permanent dependency. Then there was the issue of industrial benefits. Major Canadian defense contracts are supposed to deliver high-value work for local industries. Lockheed Martin promised the F-35 program would generate over $15.5 billion for Canada, with Canadian companies contributing to the global supply chain. In fact, there's about 3.2 million Canadian dollars worth of content in every single F-35 made, but critics argued the model was flawed. Instead of building a sovereign Canadian capability, it turned Canadian companies into subcontractors on a vast, American-led assembly line. The jobs were real, but the most valuable intellectual property stayed in American hands. There was a growing feeling that Canada was paying a premium price without the nation-building industrial return it had seen from past projects. Industry Minister Melanie Joly publicly echoed these concerns, stating her belief that Canada hadn't gotten enough jobs or industrial benefits from the F-35 deal. These three pillars of doubt, cost, control, and jobs, created the perfect storm. The F-35, once seen as the inevitable choice, was now looking like a deeply problematic commitment. And as these doubts swirled in Ottawa, the stage was set for Washington to make its concerns known. As Canada's review of the F-35 deal gained steam, the response from Washington was swift and unambiguous. While not a public ultimatum, behind the diplomatic language, the message from the Pentagon was clear. Backing away from the F-35 would be a mistake with far-reaching consequences. This wasn't just a supplier upset about a potentially lost sale. This was a warning rooted in the very architecture of North American defense. The core of the Pentagon's argument boils down to one critical word: interoperability. For over 60 years, NORAD has treated the airspace of Canada and the U.S. as one. In that arena, the ability for both nations' forces to fight as one isn't a luxury. It's a basic requirement. U.S. officials argue the F-35 is more than a jet. It's a flying supercomputer. Its systems are designed to seamlessly share a common operating picture with other F-35s, allowing pilots on both sides of the border to see the same threats in real time. Canadian NORAD Commander Major General Chris McKenna praised the F-35's suitability, highlighting its great sensor package and armaments, but he zeroed in on the key point. And it's interoperable with our closest ally. From the Pentagon's perspective, introducing a non-American fourth-generation plus jet like the Gripen into this fifth-gen ecosystem would be like plugging a dial-up modem into a fiber optic network. It could create gaps and delays where milliseconds matter. U.S. officials have privately warned that if Canada pulls back from the full F-35 deal, it could have serious consequences for these joint operations. The U.S. also worries about technology security when a different supply chain, like one from Sweden, is introduced into the mix. This concern is magnified in the Arctic. As melting ice opens new shipping lanes, the far north has become a new stage for competition with Russia and China. Defending the Arctic is now a live daily mission. The F-35, with its stealth and advanced sensors, is seen by the Pentagon as the essential tool for this new Cold War. Several of Canada's closest Arctic allies, the US, Denmark, and Norway, are flying the F-35. A different choice by Canada is seen in Washington as weakening this united front. Any major procurement shift could also cause significant delays, leaving Canada's old CF-18s flying even longer and creating a potential capability gap. But that's not the whole story. The Pentagon's position isn't purely strategic, it's also industrial and political. The F-35 program is the most expensive defense program in history, tying nations into a complex partnership managed by the U.S. When Ottawa hints it might reduce its order, it doesn't just challenge a military strategy, it challenges the entire business model. It tells other allies that it's possible to reconsider. A successful Gripen deal in Canada could embolden other nations, creating a domino effect. This combination of strategic risk, interoperability concerns, and industrial politics forms the core of Washington's agitation. The choice for Ottawa is being framed in stark terms: stay in the American-led fold, or step outside and risk being left behind, weakening the defense of the entire continent. The pressure was immense, but an alternative was emerging with a radically different vision. As worries over the F-35 mounted in Ottawa, Swedish defense giant Saab saw a golden opportunity. The company had lost the official fighter competition in 2021. Leaked defense evaluations reportedly showed the Gripen scoring just 33% to the F-35's 95% in one assessment of raw capability. But Saab never really went away. Instead, it quietly repositioned itself as the solution to Canada's specific anxieties. Saab's counteroffer was audacious. It wasn't just for jets. It was a complete package: 72 Gripen EF fighters, plus 6 GlobalEye airborne early warning and control aircraft. This wasn't just an alternative plane. It was an alternative defense philosophy. The Gripen E is a highly capable 4th-gen plus fighter. It doesn't have the F-35's all-aspect stealth, but it's known for its electronic warfare prowess, efficiency, and ruggedness. Saab's sales pitch cleverly pivoted away from a direct feature-for-feature fight and focused on the F-35's biggest vulnerability: sovereignty. The cornerstone of Saab's proposal was an unprecedented promise of full technology transfer. Unlike the F-35's black box, Saab pledged to give Canada the keys to the kingdom. Canadian technicians could maintain, repair, and, most importantly, upgrade the Gripen systems without asking a foreign government for permission. Canada would have sovereign control. But the masterstroke was the industrial plan. Saab didn't just promise jobs. It promised to revitalize Canada's aerospace sector, committing to creating up to 12,600 high-skilled jobs. The plan included final assembly lines in Ontario and Quebec. A crucial part of this was a partnership with Canadian aerospace champion Bombardier, since the GlobalEye surveillance aircraft are built on Bombardier's Global 6000 to 6500 business jet platform. This reframed the deal from a military purchase into a nation-building project. Then came the operational argument, tailored for Canada's unique geography. The Gripen was designed for Sweden's doctrine of dispersed operations, the ability to work from small, austere airfields, even frozen highways. It can be refueled and rearmed by a small crew of 5 in under 10 minutes. By comparison, an F-35 can require a ground crew of around 30 people and take over 2 hours to turn around. For a country defined by the vast, unforgiving Arctic, this was compelling. The ability to operate independently from large bases enhances survivability. This, combined with the Gripen's significantly lower operating cost, estimated by proponents at around $7,800 per flight hour compared to the F-35's estimated $44,000, painted a picture of a more practical and sustainable solution. Proponents argued that instead of having a few exquisite jets you're hesitant to fly, Canada could have a larger, more affordable fleet maintaining a constant watch over the North. The inclusion of the 6 GlobalEye aircraft was another brilliant move. These eyes in the sky would give Canada its own powerful surveillance capability, reducing its reliance on U.S. assets. This complete package, the Gripen fighter, the GlobalEye sensor, full tech transfer, and a massive jobs promise, was the Gripen Gambit. It was a compelling offer that forced Ottawa to pause and reconsider its entire strategy. The choice facing Canada is between two fundamentally different approaches to national security. Let's break down the confrontation between the F-35 and the Gripen GlobalEye package. First, military and geopolitics. The F-35's entire purpose is deep integration and 5th-generation dominance. Its stealth allows it to operate undetected in the world's most dangerous airspace. Its sensors fuse data into a single picture shared across the network. For its proponents, this overmatch capability is non-negotiable. The argument is that in a worst-case scenario, you need the best tool, and that's the F-35. Buying it keeps Canada at the top tier of NATO, fully interoperable with the US. The Gripen operates on a different philosophy. It's not a stealth fighter. It's an agile, electronically sophisticated jet designed for defensive operations and sovereignty patrol. The Gripen camp argues that for Canada's main mission, patrolling its own vast airspace, the F-35's deep strike stealth is expensive overkill. What Canada needs more, they contend, is presence and persistence. More planes in the air, for longer hours. This is where the Gripen's lower operating cost becomes a strategic advantage. For the price of flying one F-35 for 1 hour, you could fly multiple Gripens. The addition of the GlobalEye aircraft is the Gripen package's answer to the F-35's sensor fusion. The GlobalEye acts as the quarterback, seeing the whole field, while the Gripens act as the fast and efficient interceptors. It's a formidable defensive system, but it's a distributed network versus the F-35's integrated node. Next, the economic battleground. The F-35 offer is built on global integration. Canada's role is to be an expert supplier of key components in a US-led program, providing stable, long-term work. The model is interdependence. Saab's Gripen offer is the polar opposite: national independence. The promise of local assembly and full technology transfer is designed to create a self-sufficient Canadian aerospace ecosystem. However, critics warn that licensed production can be inefficient, and once the 72 jets are built, the Canadian factory could struggle to find new customers. The F-35 offers a smaller piece of a much larger guaranteed pie. The Gripen offers a larger piece of a smaller, more uncertain one. This leads to a third option, the hybrid fleet. Some analysts suggest Canada could accept the first 16 F-35s it is committed to, then buy 72 Gripens. On the surface, it seems like the best of both worlds. Canada gets a small fleet of high-end jets for NATO missions, and a larger, more affordable fleet for sovereignty patrols. However, military logisticians are extremely skeptical. Operating two entirely separate fleets of fighter jets is a nightmare. It requires separate training, separate supply chains, and separate maintenance depots. Experts warn the cost and complexity could negate all the savings, resulting in a force that's more expensive and less capable. As one defense analyst noted, a token fleet of 16 F-35s is completely pointless from a military point of view. The Canadian public appears to be just as divided. Recent polling shows a nation grappling with this choice. One survey found 43% of Canadians favored a full Gripen fleet, with only 13% supporting a single F-35 fleet. Another poll indicated nearly a third want to cancel the rest of the F-35 deal, while half believe procurement should prioritize equipment made by Canadian workers. Yet another poll found that 40% believe the top priority should be getting the best jet for the job, versus 28% who prioritize job creation. Canada's hesitation is sending shockwaves far beyond its borders, because this decision is a bellwether moment for the Western alliance. It's the first serious challenge by a major U.S. ally to the F-35's presumed dominance. If Canada proceeds with the full 88 F-35s, it will be a powerful reaffirmation of the status quo. It would signal that despite concerns, seamless integration with the U.S. remains the top priority. For the Pentagon, this would be a major victory, reinforcing the F-35 as the backbone of NATO air power. The price would be a Canada more deeply entwined with the U.S. defense industrial complex than ever before. But if Canada chooses the Gripen or a hybrid fleet, the geopolitical shockwaves would be immense. Washington would likely see it as a strategic rebuke, a sign that Canada is prioritizing its own industrial policy over the collective security framework championed by the U.S. The alliance would endure, but it would introduce a new layer of friction into the U.S.-Canada relationship. More broadly, a Canadian move towards Gripen would be a proof of concept for other middle powers. Nations also struggling with the F-35's high costs would be watching closely. A successful Gripen program in a G7 nation would legitimize it as a credible alternative, potentially fragmenting the unified procurement approach the Pentagon has worked so hard to build. The decision, therefore, is heavy with symbolic weight. Is the best way to ensure collective security through absolute technological conformity? Or is there strength in diversity, where allies develop sovereign capabilities tailored to their specific needs? The Pentagon warns that diversity creates weakness. Proponents of independence argue that over-reliance on a single system creates a single point of failure. This is the monumental dilemma on Ottawa's desk. The skies over North America have become a geopolitical chessboard. On one side, the F-35, the symbol of ultimate capability, seamless alliance, and a deep partnership with the United States. It promises unmatched power, but at a staggering cost and with significant strings attached. On the other, the Gripen, the symbol of sovereignty, industrial independence, and a pragmatic approach. It promises control, affordability, and a resurgent domestic industry, but risks friction with Canada's most important ally. This is more than a choice between two jets. It is a defining moment for Canada, a choice between deeper integration and greater autonomy. Both paths have profound benefits and both come with serious risks. The shockwaves from this decision will be felt for decades, shaping the security of a continent and the balance of power within the Western world. What do you think Canada should do? Is the F-35's integrated power essential for North American security, or is the Gripen's promise of sovereignty a better path for the nation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this analysis insightful, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the critical defense and geopolitical issues shaping our world.